The stars shimmered against the vast blackness of space as the Zenithan warship Eternal Glory glided toward the yellow sun and its small collection of planets. Commander Vrax stood on the bridge, his 4 eyes focused on the blue-green world that appeared on the main screen. His scaled skin reflected the soft purple lights of the command center as he stroked the ceremonial ridges on his chin. "Magnify Sector 3, he ordered, his voice deep and confident. The image shifted, showing crude satellites and small space stations orbiting the planet. "Primitive," said Science Officer Masnar. "They have only achieved basic space travel within their own system." Vrax nodded. This would be an easy conquest for the Zenithan Empire. They had absorbed hundreds of worlds into their domain over thousands of years. This insignificant planet would be no different. "Prepare the standard first contact protocols," Vrax said, "and ready the integration fleet." In the 50 years since the Zenithans had secretly observed this world, the natives had progressed faster than expected, but they were still far behind Imperial technology. The integration would be simple: demonstrate overwhelming power, accept their surrender, and begin the process of making them useful members of the Empire. Far below, on the planet called Earth, alarm bells rang throughout the North American Space Defense Command. Lisa Morgan had been eating her lunch when the alarm started. She dropped her sandwich and ran to the main control room. As the lead scientist for the Extraterrestrial Response Division, she had prepared for this day for years, but part of her had hoped it would never come. "Status report," she called out as she entered the buzzing control center. Jack Nelson, her assistant, looked up from his monitor. His face was pale. 7 alien vessels just appeared at the edge of our solar system. "They're big, Dr. Morgan. Really big." Lisa nodded and took a deep breath. "Alert the President and activate the first contact protocol. And get me Captain Reeves." Within an hour, the world's leaders had been informed and military forces worldwide were on high alert, but they would not be the first line of defense. That responsibility fell to the newly formed Earth Defense Fleet and its flagship, the EDF Horizon. Captain John Reeves stood on the bridge of the Horizon, watching as his crew prepared for humanity's first official meeting with alien life. At 45, Reeves had spent most of his life in the Navy before being selected to command Earth's first true spacecraft designed for potential combat. The ship looked small and fragile compared to the massive alien vessels now parked in orbit around Mars. "Communications are ready, Captain," said Lieutenant Amy Powell from her station. "The aliens are broadcasting in multiple frequencies. The translation software is working on it." Reeves straightened his uniform. "Let's hope all those movies about first contact got it wrong. I'd prefer not to start an interstellar war today." Everyone's surprised the alien sent a message in perfect English. "People of Earth, we are the Zenithan Empire, rulers of 300 worlds across this galactic sector. We come to welcome you into our domain and offer you the protection and guidance of our ancient civilization. Prepare a delegation to meet with us in orbit around your planet." The message played on repeat across every communication device on Earth. Panic spread in some regions, while others celebrated the confirmation that humans were not alone in the universe. In Washington, D.C., an emergency meeting took place. Dr. Morgan presented her recommendations to a room full of government officials and military leaders. "We know more about them than they think we do," she explained. "The New Mexico crash in 1947 wasn't a weather balloon. It was a Zenithan probe. We've spent decades studying their technology and biology in secret." The Secretary of Defense looked skeptical. "Are you suggesting we should reveal this information?" "I'm suggesting we use it to our advantage," Lisa replied. "They think we're primitive. Let's use that misconception." 24 hours later, a small Earth shuttle approached the massive Zenithan flagship. Inside were 4 humans: Dr. Lisa Morgan, Captain John Reeves, Lieutenant Alex Carter, and Diplomatic Officer Patricia Rodriguez. "Remember the plan?" Lisa whispered as their shuttle was pulled into the alien ship's docking bay. "We're curious but cautious. We reveal nothing about what we already know." The shuttle door opened to reveal a vast chamber filled with strange purple light. 3 tall aliens with scaled skin and 4 eyes approached. They wore ornate armor that seemed more ceremonial than practical. "Welcome, humans," said the one in the center. "I am Commander Vrax of the Zenithan Empire. You stand aboard the Imperial, flagship Eternal Glory." Captain Reeves stepped forward and offered a slight bow. "Thank you for your welcome. I am Captain John Reeves of Earth's Defense Fleet. These are my colleagues, Dr. Morgan, Lieutenant Carter, and Officer Rodriguez." The aliens led them through corridors lined with strange symbols and into a large room with a round table. Other aliens worked at stations around the perimeter, occasionally glancing at the humans with curiosity. Commander Vrax gestured toward the seats. "Please, be comfortable. We have much to discuss about your future as part of our glorious empire." The humans exchanged quick glances before sitting down. "We're honored by your interest in our planet," said Patricia Rodriguez carefully, "but we're curious why you've chosen Earth specifically." Vrax made a sound that might have been a laugh. "We monitor all developing worlds in this sector. Your civilization has reached the point where you might soon stumble into territories and situations beyond your understanding. The Empire provides structure and protection for younger species." Captain Reeves nodded politely. "And what exactly does becoming part of your empire entail?" "The process is quite simple," Vrax explained. "We will establish a protectorate status for your world. Our technologies will be gradually introduced to your people. Your resources will contribute to the greater good of the Empire, and in return, you receive our protection and wisdom." Alex Carter, the youngest of the human group, spoke up. "And if we prefer to remain independent?" The alien commander's four eyes blinked in sequence. "That is not typically considered a viable option. The dangers of space are too great for a young species to face alone." Lisa Morgan watched the aliens carefully. Their body language suggested they were accustomed to easy compliance. They expected humans to be grateful, even awed. "Commander Vrax," she said slowly, "while we appreciate your offer, I'm afraid we must decline integration at this time." The room went silent. The other aliens stopped their work and turned to stare. Vrax leaned forward. "Perhaps I failed to make myself clear. This is not an invitation that can be declined. It is the natural order of things." Captain Reeves smiled politely. "With all due respect, Commander, we recommend that your fleet withdraw from our solar system immediately." The aliens' confusion was visible even across species. Commander Vrax stood up, his height now more imposing. "You misunderstand your situation," he said, his voice hardening. "Your planet has no defenses against our technology. Your cooperation is preferred but not required." Lisa Morgan stood as well, her expression calm but resolved. "You're the one who misunderstands, Commander. Humans don't respond well to threats. For your own safety, you should leave now." The alien commander looked at the four humans with a mixture of shock and amusement. How could these primitive beings possibly threaten the mighty Zenithan Empire? What Vrax didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this day ever since they found the crashed alien ship 70 years ago. And they were far more dangerous than the Zenithans could possibly imagine. Commander Vrax stared at the four humans with all four of his eyes. His scaled skin darkened slightly, a sign of anger among the Zenithans. The other aliens in the room had stopped their work completely, shocked by the humans' response. "You dare to threaten the Zenithan Empire?" Vrax finally said. His voice was low and dangerous. "Civilizations with technologies thousands of years more advanced than yours have fallen before us. What makes you think you can stand against us?" Dr. Lisa Morgan remained calm. She opened the small tablet she had brought with her and placed it on the table. "We'd like to show you something, Commander." A holographic display appeared above the tablet. It showed images of Earth's violent history, wars, weapons, and the rapid advancement of human technology. "This is our species' timeline," Lisa explained. "Notice how quickly we advanced. From simple flight to landing on our moon took less than 70 years. From basic computers to artificial intelligence took about the same time." Captain John Reeves leaned forward. "But what's most important is what drives our innovation. Unlike many species, humans develop our best technologies during conflict." The display showed more images: nuclear weapons, stealth aircraft, precision-guided missiles, and more recent advancements in plasma weapons and shield technology. Lieutenant Alex Carter spoke next. We evolved as persistence hunters. When threatened, we don't give up. We adapt. We overcome. No force has ever permanently subjugated the human race. Vrax watched the display with growing concern. The speed of human advancement was unusual, but surely they couldn't match Imperial technology. Impressive for a young species, Vrax said, trying to sound unaffected. But you remain centuries behind our capabilities. Patricia Rodriguez smiled slightly. Are we? We've been studying Zenithan technology since your probe crashed in New Mexico 70 years ago. The room went completely silent. Vrax's second-in-command, Sub-Commander Kreltz, stepped forward with obvious alarm. Impossible, Kreltz said. Survey probe ZN-483 was lost in this sector, but our records show it burned up in this planet's atmosphere. Lisa shook her head. It did not burn up. We recovered it, we studied it, and we used it to prepare for this day. The holographic display changed to show the wreckage of the Zenithan probe, along with human scientists working on its components. Then it displayed a timeline of reverse-engineered technologies that humans had developed from studying the alien. Vrax's skin paled to a lighter shade. This is deception. Your primitive species could not possibly understand our technology. Alex Carter, the youngest of the human team, smiled. Yet here we are, discussing it with you as equals. Let me demonstrate our understanding. He used the tablet to display schematics of the Zenithan ship's propulsion system. Your ships use a dimensional folding drive that creates artificial wormholes. The energy requirements are massive, and the system has a critical vulnerability, here and here. He pointed to specific components in the schematic. With a properly tuned electromagnetic pulse at this frequency, Carter continued, your entire fleet would lose propulsion capability. We developed the countermeasure 15 years ago, just in case. The Zenithan officers looked at each other, in growing concern. This level of understanding should have been impossible for a species at Earth's development stage. Captain Reeves spoke again, his voice firm, but not threatening. We're not sharing this to intimidate you, Commander. We're explaining why your standard integration won't work with humans. We value our independence too highly, and we're prepared to defend it. Commander Vrax needed time to process this unexpected situation. I require consultation with Imperial Command. You will return to your shuttle while we discuss these developments. Human delegation was escorted back to their shuttle by armed Zenithan guards. Once inside with the door closed, Patricia Rodriguez let out a breath she seemed to have been holding. Do you think they believed us? She asked. Lisa nodded. They believed enough to be worried. That's all we need for now. Back in the Zenithan Command Center, Vrax was in urgent communication with the Imperial High Command. The Supreme Overlord himself, Emperor Zal Nur, appeared on the communication screen. Explain this unusual delay, Commander, the Emperor demanded. His voice echoed through the chamber. Vrax bowed deeply. Supreme One, we have encountered an anomaly with the Earth species. They have knowledge they should not possess, including details of our crashed probe and our ship systems. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. How is this possible? Unknown, Supreme One. But they claim to have developed countermeasures against our technology. They have refused integration and requested our withdrawal. The Emperor was silent for a moment. This is unprecedented. No species has ever refused Imperial protection. Test their claims, Commander. Implement a containment field around their planet. If they truly understand our technology, let them prove it by breaking free. Vrax bowed again. As you command, Supreme One. The communication ended, and Vrax turned to his officers. Prepare the containment field. Let's see if these humans are as capable as they claim. Meanwhile, on Earth, the major governments had been informed of the initial meeting. In a secure underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Paul Harris of the United Joint Military Command was briefing the world's defense ministers via secure video link. Dr. Morgan's team has implemented Phase 1 of our defense strategy, he explained. The Zenithans are now aware that we have knowledge of their technology. Based on their psychological profile, They will likely test us before making any aggressive moves. Defense Minister Elena Chen from the Asian Coalition looked concerned. And if they attack without warning? General Harris nodded to a woman sitting quietly at the end of the table. Major Samantha Wright, please explain our countermeasures. Major Wright stood up. She was younger than most people expected for someone in her position, but her eyes showed a keen intelligence. We have 50 defense satellites in orbit, currently cloaked with technology derived from the Zenithon probe, she explained. Additionally, we have 3 ground-based defense systems on each continent, capable of disrupting their propulsion and weapon systems. Will it be enough? Asked the European Defense Coordinator. Honestly, we don't know, Major Wright admitted. But we've prepared for this moment for decades. We won't go down without showing them exactly what humans are capable of. Back in space, the Zenithon fleet moved into position around Earth. On the bridge of the flagship, Commander Vrax gave the order. Activate the containment field. A shimmering energy barrier began to form around the planet, designed to prevent any communications or spacecraft from leaving the atmosphere. It was a standard procedure used by the Empire to isolate primitive civilizations until they accepted imperial rule. Vrax smiled as the field stabilized. Now we will see how the humans respond to a true show of imperial power. On the moon base that the Zenithons had failed to detect, Major Samantha Wright received the alert about the containment field. She immediately activated the lunar defense array. They're testing us just as we expected, she said to her team. Let's show them why humans should never be underestimated. She pressed her palm against the activation panel and the countermeasure system hummed to life. The race to break the Zenithon containment had begun. Major Samantha Wright's fingers flew across the control panel on the lunar base. Her team of 12 specialists worked frantically around her, each focused on their assigned tasks. The containment field surrounding Earth glowed faintly in the blackness of space, visible even from the moon. Energy signature analyzed, called out Dr. Peter Kim, the quantum physics expert. It's operating on a multi-phase frequency that shifts every 3.8 seconds. Samantha nodded. Just like the simulations we ran based on the probe data. Ryan, are the disruptors ready? Lieutenant Ryan Garcia looked up from his station. Charged and aligned, Major. Awaiting your command. On the main screen, they could see the 7 Zenithon ships positioned strategically around Earth. The aliens clearly expected hours or even days of confusion before humans would realize what had happened, let alone figure out how to respond. Samantha took a deep breath. Let's show them what humans can do when cornered. Activate primary disruptors. 3 massive dishes hidden beneath the lunar surface tilted upward, pointing toward Earth and the containment field. Energy built up rapidly, glowing blue-white, at the center of each dish. Firing in 3, 2, 1, Ryan counted down. Intense beams of energy shot from the lunar surface, precisely targeted at 3 key points in the containment field. Where the beams hit, the field rippled and distorted. Aboard the Zenithon flagship, alarms blared across the command deck. Commander Vrax rushed to the main display. Report, he demanded. The science officer, Maznar, looked up with 4 wide eyes. Impossible. The humans are attacking the containment field from their moon. They're using energy signatures that match our own technology. Vrax stared at the display in disbelief. How long until the field fails? At this rate, Maznar calculated, less than 20 minutes. They've somehow identified the exact resonance frequencies. Subcommander Kreltz approached Vrax. We should inform the Emperor immediately. This species is far more dangerous than we anticipated. Vrax clenched his fists. His career in the Empire was at stake. No. Increase power to the containment field. We will not be defeated by primitives. Back on the lunar base, Samantha received the update from her team. They're reinforcing the field, Peter announced. Power levels increasing by 200%. Samantha smiled slightly. Exactly as expected. They're predictable. Activate secondary protocols. Around Earth, 50 previously hidden satellites suddenly became visible as they powered up. Each one targeted a different section of the containment field with a precise beam of energy. On the ground, in a command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Colonel Frank Rivera received the update from the lunar base. The Zenithans are responding exactly as Dr. Morgan predicted, his aide reported. They're trying to overpower our disruption beams rather than adapt to them. Colonel Rivera nodded and pressed the communication button. All Earth defense stations, this is Eagle Command, initiate Thunderbolt protocol. Across the planet, hidden facilities powered up, in the Sahara Desert, the Amazon rainforest, and beneath the Antarctic ice. Massive energy weapons pointed skyward. In space, the containment field began to flicker as the combined assault from the moon base and the satellites overwhelmed its capacity to adapt. On the Zenithan flagship, chaos erupted as systems began to fail. "The field is collapsing," shouted Masnar, "and we're detecting energy buildup from multiple locations on the planet's surface." Vrax slammed his fist on the command console. "Target those lunar installations. Prepare main weapons." Before the gear weapons could lock on, the containment field shattered completely. In the same instant, the 50 Earth satellites shifted their aim from the field to the Zenithan ships. A voice came through on all Zenithan communication channels. It was Colonel Rivera. "Attention, Zenithan fleet. Your containment field has failed. Our weapons are now locked on all 7 of your vessels. This was a test of our patience, not our capabilities. The next such action will be considered an act of war." On the flagship's bridge, the weapons officer turned to Vrax. "Commander, we're being targeted by weapons we cannot identify. Our scanners cannot determine their composition or power levels." For the first time in his long career, Commander Vrax felt true fear. This small, seemingly primitive planet had just defeated one of the Empire's most advanced technologies in less than an hour. "Stand down weapons," he ordered. "Maintain position." He opened a channel to Earth. "This is Commander Vrax of the Zenithan Empire. We acknowledge your capabilities. The test is concluded." In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, Colonel Rivera exchanged looks with General Harris. "They're backing down," the general said. "For now." Rivera nodded. "Prepare for the next phase. They'll report to their emperor and will likely face a much larger force soon." On the lunar base, Samantha's team celebrated their success, but she remained focused on her screens. "Good work, everyone," she said. "But this was just the opening move. Get some rest. We'll need to be ready when they come back with reinforcements." Meanwhile, on the Zenithan flagship, Commander Vrax reluctantly opened a communication channel to Imperial High Command. The face of Emperor Zal-Nur appeared on the screen, his expression already showing displeasure. "The containment field has failed, Supreme One," Vrax reported. "The humans destroyed it in less than 1 of their hours." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "They had hidden installations on their moon and in orbit. They used technology similar to our own, but with modifications we've never seen before. They now have weapons targeted at our fleet." The Emperor was silent for a long moment. "This is unprecedented. No species has ever broken a containment field, let alone so quickly." He leaned closer to the screen. "I will come personally with the Imperial Armada. These humans must be studied more closely before we decide their fate. Maintain your position, but take no further action until I arrive." "As you command, Supreme One," Vrax said with a deep bow. The communication ended, and Vrax stared out at the blue-green planet. What kind of species could advance so quickly? How had they managed to not only understand Zenithan technology but improve upon it? Dr. Lisa Morgan and Captain John Reeves were brought back to the Zenithan flagship under a temporary truce. They were escorted to the command deck where Vrax waited. "Your response was unexpected," Vrax admitted. "The Emperor himself is coming to meet with your leaders." Lisa nodded calmly. "We'll prepare an appropriate welcome." "This is not a social visit," Vrax warned. "He comes with the Imperial Armada, 10,000 ships that have conquered countless worlds." Captain Reeves smiled, slightly. "We look forward to showing him the same hospitality we've shown you, Commander." As the humans were escorted back to their shuttle, Vrax turned to his science officer. "Analyze everything we know about these humans," he ordered. "There must be a weakness we can exploit." Masnar looked troubled. "There is one thing that concerns me, Commander. Their weapons used principles of physics our scientists have deemed theoretically impossible. If they can do what we think is impossible..." Vrax didn't need the science officer to finish the thought. For the first time in the Empire's long history, they had encountered a species that might actually be a threat to their dominance of the galaxy. On Earth, preparations began for the arrival of the Emperor and his armada. Humanity would face its greatest test, but they would not face it unprepared. 3 days passed after the containment field incident. Earth's militaries remained on high alert, and civilians worldwide were informed of the potential threat from space. Despite the danger, there was surprisingly little panic. Humans had imagined this scenario in countless books and movies for centuries. Now that it was real, they faced it with a mixture of fear and determination. In orbit around Mars, a massive portal opened. The space around it warped and twisted as the fabric of reality was temporarily bent. Through this opening came the Imperial Armada, not just the 10,000 ships that Commander Vrax had mentioned, but 50,000 vessels of various sizes, all bristling with weapons and technology far beyond anything Earth had seen before. Itiao. The center of this armada was the Imperial throne ship, a vessel so large it dwarfed all others. Its surface gleamed with a metal unknown to Earth science, and strange energy patterns flowed across its hull like liquid light. On Earth, in the underground command center, General Harris watched the incoming fleet on the main screen. "My God," he whispered. "There are so many of them." Dr. Lisa Morgan stood beside him, her face calm despite the overwhelming display of alien power. Numbers don't matter. Technology doesn't matter. What matters is that they don't understand how humans think. "Let's hope you're right," the general replied, "because if you're wrong, this could be humanity's last day." The leaders of Earth's nations had agreed on a unified response plan. Rather than showing fear or aggression, they would send a single representative to meet with the Zenithan Emperor. That representative was Ambassador William Peterson, a man who had spent his life resolving conflicts between nations that had seemed impossible to solve. At 70 years old, Peterson had gray hair and kind eyes that showed the wisdom gained from decades of difficult negotiations. He was not a military man or a scientist. He was simply someone who understood how to talk to people, even when those people wanted to destroy each other. "Are you sure you want to do this alone?" Lisa asked him as he prepared to board the shuttle that would take him to the Imperial throne. Shipbud Peterson smiled gently. "Sometimes one voice is more powerful than many. The Emperor expects us to send our military leaders or a group of scientists. By sending just me, we show him something unexpected." As Peterson's shuttle approached the massive Imperial throne ship, he remained calm, reviewing the information Dr. Morgan had provided about Zenithan culture and psychology. The shuttle was guided into a docking bay large enough to hold hundreds of such small vessels. When the door opened, Peterson was met by 20 Zenithan guards in ceremonial armor. They escorted him through corridors lined with displays of conquered worlds and species. It was clearly meant to intimidate, but Peterson simply observed everything with polite interest. Finally, he was led into the throne room, a massive chamber with a ceiling that seemed to show the actual stars and galaxies of space above. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat Emperor Zalnur the Infinite on his throne of black crystal. The Emperor was larger than other Zenithans, with 6 eyes instead of 4, and skin that shifted colors like an earth chameleon. His ceremonial armor was adorned with symbols of power from 100 different worlds. "You stand before Zalnur the Infinite, Emperor of the Zenithan Empire, Conqueror of the 3 spirals, Master of 1,000 species," announced a court official. "Approach and kneel, human." Peterson walked forward steadily. When he reached the designated spot before the throne, he bowed his head respectfully, but remained standing. "I thank you for receiving me, Emperor Zalnur," he said in a clear, steady voice. "I am William Peterson, ambassador from Earth." The Emperor's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. "You do not kneel?" "On Earth we stand when we speak as equals," Peterson replied. "I represent a free people who wish to remain free." Murmurs of shock and outrage rippled through the Zenithan officials present. Commander Vrax, standing to the side of the throne, looked horrified at this breach of protocol. The Emperor, however, seemed more curious than angry. "You consider yourself equal to the ruler of 3 galactic spirals and 1,000 worlds?" Peterson smiled slightly. Different, but equal in our right to exist as we choose. The Emperor leaned forward. Your species has shown unexpected abilities. That is the only reason you still exist. Your defiance does not serve you well. It is not defiance, Emperor Zalnur. It is simply our nature. Humans do not submit easily to external control. My credentials include negotiating peace between our planet's most hostile nations. I've been authorized to offer friendship and trade instead of conflict. The Emperor made a dismissive gesture. The Empire does not trade with lesser species. We protect them, guide them, and use their resources for the greater good of all. This is the natural order. Perhaps for the 1,000 worlds you rule, Peterson acknowledged, but not for Earth. We have prepared for this moment longer than you realize. The Emperor's skin darkened slightly. Your weapons may have surprised Commander Vrax, but they cannot stand against the Imperial Armada. Peterson's expression grew sad. We had hoped it wouldn't come to comparing weapons, but if I must, I am authorized to share certain information. He removed a small device from his pocket and activated it. A holographic display appeared showing detailed genetic sequences. This is Zenithan biology, mapped to the molecular level, Peterson explained. Our geneticists have identified specific sequences unique to your species. They have also developed targeted bioweapons that would affect only Zenithans, leaving all other life forms unharmed. The Emperor's skin paled dramatically. Impossible. You could not have developed such weapons so quickly. We've had 70 years since your probe crashed, Peterson reminded him, and humans are very good at developing weapons. He changed the display to show complex mathematical equations. Additionally, our quantum physicists have theorized a way to collapse the spatial corridors your empire relies on for interstellar travel. We could effectively isolate your forces and cut off parts of your empire from each other. The throne room was completely silent now. The Emperor stared at Peterson with all 6 eyes. These would be acts of war, the Emperor finally said, his voice dangerously quiet. Peterson nodded. Which is why we haven't used them. We don't want war, Emperor Zalnur. We simply want to be left alone to develop in our own way. You expect me to believe a primitive planet has developed such capabilities? This is clearly a bluff. Peterson sighed and activated the final part of his presentation. The hologram showed detailed schematics of the Imperial throne ship's classified defense systems. It even displayed genetic markers unique to the Imperial bloodline, information that should have been impossible for humans to obtain. How did you get this information? Demanded the Emperor, now visibly shaken. The same way we developed countermeasures against your technology, Peterson replied calmly. Humans are very good at solving puzzles and finding patterns. We observe, analyze, and adapt faster than any species your empire has encountered before. He deactivated the hologram. All we ask is recognition of Earth and our solar system as sovereign territory, and a non-interference pact with the Zenithan Empire. The Emperor was silent for a long moment, his 6 eyes studying Peterson intently. You will wait while I confer with my advisors, he finally said. As Peterson was escorted to a waiting area, Commander Vrax approached the throne. Supreme One, this human must be lying. Such capabilities are beyond their level of development. The Emperor's skin color shifted rapidly, showing his agitation. Then explain how they obtained information about my personal genetic code. Explain how they broke the containment field in less than an hour. Something unprecedented is happening. Here, Commander, and I do not like being threatened. On Earth, leadership councils watched and waited. The next few hours would determine the future of humanity. Ambassador William Peterson waited patiently in a room lined with strange, shifting patterns of light. 2 Zenithan guards stood by the door, watching him with their 4 eyes. He showed no signs of fear or anxiety, despite knowing that his words would determine the fate of Earth. After 3 hours, he was summoned back to the throne room. The atmosphere had changed. Many of the court officials were gone, and those who remained stood in tense silence. Emperor Zalnur sat on his throne, his skin now a steady deep purple. A color Peterson had been briefed might indicate deep thought or serious decision-making. Ambassador Peterson, the Emperor spoke, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. In the 10,000 years of the Zenithan Empire, no species has ever refused integration. No planet has ever successfully threatened us. Peterson remained silent, waiting for the Emperor to continue. My advisors believe we should destroy your world as an example to others who might consider defiance. They believe your claims are exaggerated, or false. The Emperor leaned forward slightly. However, the evidence suggests otherwise. Your species has demonstrated capabilities that should be impossible for your level of development. This presents us with a unique situation. Peterson nodded. Every species in the galaxy has its own path, Emperor Zalnur. Humans simply wish to follow ours without interference. And if we were to ignore your wishes and attempt to take your world by force, then both sides would suffer terrible losses, Peterson said simply. Humans would not surrender even facing extinction. We would use every weapon at our disposal. Your empire would eventually win, but at a cost you have never paid before. The Emperor's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. A curious species that would choose destruction over submission. We don't see it as submission or destruction, Peterson explained. We see it as freedom or resistance. Throughout our history, humans have chosen resistance even when victory seemed impossible. After a long silence, the Emperor spoke again. The Imperial Council has made its decision. The Zenithan Empire will recognize Earth and its solar system as sovereign territory. A non-interference pact will be established between our civilizations. Relief washed over Peterson, though he maintained his calm exterior. Earth thanks you for your wisdom, Emperor Zalnur. Do not mistake this for weakness, the Emperor warned. This decision is based on practicality. The cost of subduing your world outweighs the benefits of adding it to our empire. Peterson bowed his head slightly. Understanding when not to fight is a sign of true strength, not weakness. The Emperor seemed to consider this. The treaty will be prepared. You will return to your planet with Commander Vrax to finalize the details. As Peterson was escorted back to his shuttle, Commander Vrax walked beside him, his posture stiff with barely contained anger. Your species should feel honored, Vrax said coldly. No other world has ever received such treatment from the Empire. Peterson looked at the commander calmly. Perhaps this can be the beginning of a new type of relationship, one based on mutual respect rather than domination. Vrax made a dismissive sound. Your world is merely too troublesome to subdue efficiently. Nothing more. Peterson smiled slightly but said nothing more. Back on Earth, the news of the Emperor's decision was met with celebration and relief. The leaders of all nations gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall of the United Nations to officially receive the Zenithan delegation and sign the treaty. Before the ceremony began, Dr. Helen Brown, a human cultural specialist who had been studying Zenithan biology and society, requested a private meeting with Commander Vrax and his science officer, Maznar. Thank you for agreeing to see me, she said as they entered the meeting room. I have something I believe will interest you. She activated a display showing complex medical data. While studying Zenithan biology, we noticed a genetic degradation pattern affecting approximately 30% of your population, particularly those from the central worlds of your empire. Maznar moved closer to the display, his scientific curiosity overcoming his distrust. How did you identify this? This pattern is a closely guarded secret, even within our empire. We didn't know it was a secret, Helen explained. We simply analyzed the genetic material and noticed the pattern. It appears to be a degenerative condition that affects neural pathways over time. Vrax's eyes narrowed. And why are you sharing this information with us? Because we've developed a potential treatment, Helen said, changing the display to show a complex molecular structure. This compound might slow or even reverse the degradation. We'd like to offer it to the Empire as a gesture of goodwill. Maznar studied the data with all 4 eyes wide. This approach, and we never considered it. Our scientists have been trying to strengthen the affected genes, not repair the neural pathways. Different perspectives often lead to different solutions, Helen said with a smile. We didn't develop countermeasures because we wanted to threaten you. We did it because throughout our history, we've learned that being unprepared often leads to extinction. But our greatest achievements have always come through cooperation, not conflict. Vrax looked at Helen with new interest. You prepare for war like the most dedicated Imperial strategists, yet you genuinely desire peace. Your species is a paradox. That's what it means to be human, replied Helen with a smile. We hope someday you'll return, not as conquerors, but as friends. The treaty signing ceremony that followed was broadcast worldwide. Commander Vrax represented the Zenithan Empire, and the Secretary-General represented Earth. The document officially recognized Earth's sovereignty and established protocols for any future contact between the civilizations. As the Zenithan ships prepared to depart, Captain Eric Sullivan stood on the observation deck of the International Space Station, watching the massive fleet move away from Earth. Beside him, Lieutenant Maria Gonzalez asked, "Do you think they'll actually leave us alone?" Sullivan nodded. "They will, for now at least. But someday, we'll go find them." "To fight?" she asked. "No," Sullivan said thoughtfully. "To explore, to learn, to build something better than either of us could build alone. That's also what humans do." The Imperial Armada created a massive portal in space and disappeared through it, leaving Earth's solar system quiet once more. But the planet had changed forever. Humans now knew with certainty that they were not alone in the universe, and, more importantly, they had proven they could stand as equals with the oldest and most powerful civilization they had encountered. In the years that followed, the Zenithan Empire completely restructured their protocols for encountering new species. The term human approach entered their diplomatic language, referring to the practice of offering respect rather than demanding submission. And occasionally, when Imperial citizens looked toward the distant yellow star that housed humanity, they felt something unusual for Zenithans. Gratitude that they had been told to flee, rather than discovering why through conflict. As for humanity, they continued to develop, now with a clear understanding of their place in the galaxy. They built better ships, established colonies on other planets in their solar system, and prepared for the day when they would venture into the stars, not as conquerors, but as explorers ready to forge new friendships across the cosmos. They remembered the lesson of their first contact. Sometimes the greatest strength is knowing when not to fight, and the greatest victory comes from making a potential enemy into a reluctant friend. The research outpost on Proxima Centauri B's smaller moon was quiet that morning. Dr. Elaine Murphy stared at the readings on her tablet, brushing a strand of dark hair from her face. The geological survey showed promising results. Rich mineral deposits that could help fuel Earth's expansion into the stars. "Chief Winters, come look at this," she called to the security officer standing near the entrance of the dome. Jack Winters walked over, his boots making soft thuds on the metal flooring. He was tall with broad shoulders and watchful eyes that missed nothing. "What have you got, Doc?" "These mineral formations aren't just valuable. They're almost identical to Earth formations that took billions of years to develop. This could change our understanding of—" She stopped mid-sentence as an alarm began to sound. "Proximity alert," Jack said, immediately shifting to high alert. "We're not expecting any supply drops for another 2 weeks." The communications officer, Samantha Reeves, rushed to her station. Her fingers flew across the console as she pulled up the sensor readings. "Unknown vessel approaching. It's huge. Nothing like I've ever seen in our database." Jack keyed his comm unit. "All personnel, this is not a drill. Unknown vessel approaching. Security teams to your stations. All non-security personnel. Proceed to your designated safe areas." Dr. Murphy didn't move. This was her project, her responsibility. "I'm staying, Jack." He knew better than to argue with her. "Then stay behind me." Alan Garcia, Dr. Murphy's assistant, joined them at the main console. His young face showed both fear and excitement. "First contact? Really?" "Let's not jump to conclusions," Dr. Murphy cautioned, though deep down she felt the same surge of excitement. Humanity had been searching the stars for other intelligent life for centuries. If this was indeed first contact, it would be the most significant moment in human history. The unknown ship settled into orbit around the moon. It was sleek, with a design that suggested both function and artistry, curves and angles that human engineers would have considered impossible. "They're hailing us," Samantha said, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Murphy took a deep breath. "Put them through on the main screen." The screen flickered to life, revealing beings that were clearly not human. They had gray-blue skin that seemed to shimmer slightly, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern and no visible nose or ears. They wore ornate armor of a material that looked like liquid metal. "I am High Commander Zrek of the Zellarian Empire," the being in the center said, its voice oddly melodious despite the harsh translation. "You are trespassing on territory claimed by our people." Dr. Murphy stepped forward. "I am Dr. Elaine Murphy of the United Earth Alliance. We were unaware of any prior claims to this system. Our records show it was uninhabited when we arrived 3 years ago." The 4 eyes of the commander narrowed slightly. "Your records are irrelevant. The Zellarian Empire has existed for millions of your Earth years. We have claimed this sector since before your species learned to make fire." Jack tensed beside her, but Dr. Murphy kept her voice calm. "Then perhaps we can discuss a mutual agreement. The United Earth Alliance seeks peaceful relations with all sentient species." The commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peace? With primitives? Your technology is barely past its infancy. Your ships lumber through space like wounded animals. What could you possibly offer the Empire?" Dr. Murphy felt her, cheeks flush with anger, but she maintained her diplomatic approach. "Every species has something unique to offer. We would welcome the opportunity to learn from your advanced civilization, and perhaps we have perspectives or resources that would interest you. The only resource we require is obedience," Commander Zrek said flatly. "The Zellarian Empire does not make agreements with lesser species. You will submit to our authority or face the consequences." Alan Garcia stepped forward suddenly. "That's not how we do things. Earth won't bow to threats." Dr. Murphy tried to pull him back, but it was too late. Alan had made direct eye contact with Commander Zrek, something they would later learn was a grave insult in Zellarian culture, an act reserved only for equals. The commander's face contorted with rage. "You dare to look upon me as an equal? This insult cannot stand." "Wait," Dr. Murphy said quickly. "If we've offended you, it was unintentional. We don't know your customs yet." "Ignorance is no excuse for disrespect," the commander snarled. The communication ended abruptly. Jack grabbed Dr. Murphy's arm. "We need to evacuate. Now." But it was already too late. The outpost shook as the first energy blast hit the main dome. Warning lights flashed as the atmospheric containment system struggled to compensate. "All personnel to emergency shuttles," Jack shouted into his comm unit as he pulled Dr. Murphy toward the exit. Alan wasn't so lucky. A second blast tore through the section where he stood, and he was gone in a flash of blinding light. Dr. Murphy screamed and tried to run back, but Jack held her firmly. "He's gone, Doc. There's nothing we can do for him." The outpost was falling apart around them. They raced through corridors filled with smoke and the screams of injured personnel. Samantha Reeves joined them, clutching a portable communications array. "The main comms are down," she panted. "I managed to grab this before my station was hit." They reached the emergency bay just as another blast rocked the outpost. Only one shuttle remained intact. Jack shoved both women inside and jumped in after them, sealing the door. "How many others made it out?" Dr. Murphy asked, her voice hollow as Jack initiated the launch sequence. "I saw 2 other shuttles launch before us," he replied grimly. "Out of 53 personnel." The shuttle shot away from the disintegrating outpost, and Samantha immediately began working on the communications array. "We need to warn Earth. They need to know what happened here." Dr. Murphy stared back at the outpost as it crumbled under the Zellarian attack. Research equipment, years of work, and worst of all, dozens of good people, all gone in minutes because of a misunderstanding and alien arrogance. "What do we do now?" Samantha asked. tears streaming down her face as she worked. Jack's expression was hard as stone. We survive. We get word to Earth. And then we make these Zilarians regret the day they decided humans were easy targets. The small shuttle accelerated away from the moon, keeping the bulk of the planet between them and the Zilarian ship. As they fled, Dr. Murphy watched her life's work vanish behind them. But something new had taken its place. Determination. They think we're primitives, she said quietly. That might be the biggest mistake they've ever made. Earth won't take. This lying down, Jack agreed, his hands steady on the controls despite the gravity of their situation. Samantha looked up from the communications array. I've got a channel to the deep space relay. It's weak, but it might reach Earth. Dr. Murphy leaned forward. This is Dr. Elaine Murphy of Proxima Centauri Research Outpost. We are under attack by an alien force identifying themselves as the Solarian Empire. Most of the outpost has been destroyed, numerous casualties. She paused, gathering her thoughts. They are technologically advanced and openly hostile. They demand submission, not negotiation. Earth needs to prepare. As the message transmitted, the three survivors watched the stars streak by, each lost in their own thoughts. They had just become the first humans to survive an alien attack, and unwitting heralds of a war that would change the course of human history forever. What they couldn't know was how the people of Earth would respond to this threat. The Zilarians expected fear, panic, and eventually submission. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Admiral Catherine Bennett stood at the window of her office in Earth Alliance headquarters. She stared at the bright blue planet below, her reflection showing a woman with short gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. Her uniform was crisp and perfect, just like her reputation. The door slid open and Commander Paul Dixon entered. He carried a data tablet and wore a grim expression. The distress signal has been verified, Admiral, he said. It's authentic. Catherine turned from the window. Play it again. Paul tapped the tablet and Dr. Murphy's voice filled the room. The message was broken and static-filled, but the words were clear enough. Alien attack, numerous casualties, technologically advanced hostiles demanding submission. How many survivors? Catherine asked. Only 3 confirmed. The shuttle carrying Dr. Murphy, Chief Winters, and Officer Reeves was picked up by the transport ship Dakota. They're en route to Earth now. Catherine walked to her desk and sat down. And these Zilarians? No sign of them following the shuttle. Intelligence suggests they believe they've made their point and expect us to send diplomats begging for mercy. A thin smile crossed Catherine's face. Do they have any idea what they've just done? Paul's expression darkened. No, ma'am. They just picked a fight with the wrong species. Catherine pressed a button on her desk. Activate Protocol Thunderstrike. Paul looked surprised. Ma'am, that protocol hasn't been updated in years. It was created as a worst-case scenario. And what would you call this, Commander? Aliens just attacked an Earth outpost and killed 50 of our people. I'd say that qualifies. Within hours, the news spread across Earth and its colonies. The response was not what the Zilarians would have expected. There was no panic in the streets, no mass hysteria. Instead, a cold determination settled over humanity. In his small house in Montana, Stephen Wright watched the news broadcast. He was 52, with scars on his hands and face from his years as a Marine sniper. He had been retired for 5 years. 10 minutes after the broadcast ended, he called his old commander. I want back in, he said simply. Across the ocean in Tokyo, Olivia Chen sat in her family's factory office. The Chen Manufacturing Company had made consumer electronics for 3 generations. She looked at the production floor below and made a decision. Within 24 hours, the first machines were being retooled to make military components. In Moscow, President Sokolov and his cabinet watched the same broadcast. Old rivalries with the Western nations suddenly seemed petty. Call Washington, he told his aide. Tell them Russia stands with Earth. Even in the lawless regions of the asteroid belt, people rallied. Darius Kelly, known as the most notorious space pirate in the system, gathered his crew. We've spent years running from Earth Alliance ships, he told them. But we're humans first. I'm offering our ships, our knowledge of the unmapped regions, and our unique talents to the Alliance. Anyone who doesn't like it can take a shuttle and leave. Not one person left. At Earth Alliance headquarters, Catherine addressed the United Earth Council. The room was filled with representatives from every nation and colony in the Alliance. The Solarians think we're primitive because we haven't existed as long as they have, she said. They don't understand that humans don't need millions of years to learn how to fight. We've been perfecting the art of war against each other since we climbed down from the trees. Now we'll show them what humanity does best. Adapt, overcome, and win at any cost. The council voted unanimously to approve her plan. 6 days later, Dr. Murphy's shuttle docked at Earth Station 1. Catherine and Paul were there to meet the survivors. Dr. Murphy looked thinner, with dark circles under her eyes. Jack Winters stood protectively close to her, his face hard with barely controlled anger. Samantha Reeves clutched a data drive to her chest like it was the most precious thing in the universe. Dr. Murphy, Catherine said, extending her hand. I'm Admiral Bennett. I wish we were meeting under better circumstances. Elaine shook her hand firmly. Did our message get through clearly? Clear enough. We've already begun preparations. Jack looked surprised. Already? It's only been a week. Paul smiled grimly. A lot can happen in a week when humanity is motivated. Samantha held out the data drive. I managed to record everything our sensors picked up during the attack. Their weapons, their shields, their communication frequencies, it's all here. Catherine took the drive like it was gold. This could be the edge we need. Come with me, there's someone you need to meet. She led them to a secure conference room where a holographic display showed a starship unlike any they had seen before. It was sleek and deadly, with lines that suggested both beauty and menace. This is the USS Defiant, Catherine said. Our first true warship. We've been building it in secret for 3 years, hoping we'd never need it. A woman stepped out from behind the display. She had dark skin, short-cropped hair, and the confident stance of someone who knew exactly what she was capable of. Captain, Lisa Rodriguez, she said, introducing herself. I've been assigned to command the Defiant. A warship? Dr. Murphy asked. I thought Earth's policy was peaceful exploration only. Hope for peace, prepare for war, Catherine replied. After first contact with the Proxima Centauri sentient plants 20 years ago, we realized we might not always meet friendly species. Protocol Thunderstrike was created as a contingency plan. Jack studied the ship hologram with professional interest. When will it be ready? 3 months to complete the weapon systems with the new production protocols, Lisa answered. We're recruiting crew now. I want in, Jack said immediately. Catherine nodded. I thought you might. We need experienced security personnel. Dr. Murphy stepped forward. Me too. I know more about the Zolarians than anyone. I watched them destroy my outpost and kill my friends. I want to help stop them. Samantha joined them. Count me in as well. I can help decode their communications. For the next 3 months, Earth prepared. Factories around the world converted to military production. Training centers operated around the clock. Old enemies became allies against a common threat. The Defiant was just the first ship. 5 more followed quickly, built with new techniques and technologies that surprised even their designers. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to innovate under pressure. Dr. Murphy worked with the science team to analyze the Zolarian technology from the data Samantha had saved. Jack helped train security teams, teaching them to prepare for the unexpected. And Samantha created a system to intercept and translate Zolarian communications. Captain Rodriguez gathered them in the Defiant's briefing room the night before launch. Tomorrow we take the fight to them, she said. They think they know what humans are capable of. They're wrong. Jack looked around at the determined faces. They started this thinking we'd be easy prey. Lisa smiled, her expression both fierce and confident. Tomorrow they learn what a good day for mayhem really looks like. 6 months after the attack on the Proxima Centauri outpost, the USS Defiant led a small battle group through the darkness of space. Captain Lisa Rodriguez sat in the command chair, her back straight and her eyes fixed on the main screen. The ship hummed with power around her, the newest and most advanced vessel humans had ever built. "Status report," she said. Her first officer, Commander Adam Fletcher, checked his console. "All systems running at optimal levels, Captain. The other ships are in formation and awaiting your orders." Lisa nodded. The battle group consisted of 5 ships: the Defiant, 2 smaller attack vessels called the Valor and the Liberty, and 2 support ships, the Horizon and the Endeavor. It wasn't a large force by any standard, but Earth had put its best technology and people into this mission. "How long until we reach the Zalarian outpost?" Lisa asked. 3 hours at current speed," replied the navigator, Lieutenant Benjamin. Lisa tapped her comm badge. "Captain to Engineering. Chief Collins, how are our new systems holding up?" Frank Collins answered immediately. "Running smooth as silk, Captain. The adaptive shield matrices are performing even better than expected. And our special surprise? Ready when you need it. Just give the word." Lisa smiled slightly. "Excellent. Captain to Tactical. Officer Matthews, report to my ready room." Greg Matthews arrived 2 minutes later. He was young but brilliant, with a mind that saw patterns others missed. "You wanted to see me, Captain?" "Yes. Dr. Murphy has finished analyzing the data from the Proxima attack. She believes she's found a weakness in Zalarian shield technology. I want you to incorporate her findings into our attack strategy." Greg's eyes lit up. "I've been working on something that might fit perfectly with that. It's unorthodox, but unorthodox is exactly what we need," Lisa interrupted. "The Zalarians expect us to either surrender or try to negotiate. They won't be prepared for a direct attack, and certainly not for human creativity. 3 hours. Later, the battle group dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a small moon. Sensors immediately detected the Zalarian outpost, a sprawling base built into the moon's surface. "They've spotted us," Commander Fletcher reported. "They're raising shields and powering weapons." Lisa leaned forward in her chair. "Open a channel." The main screen flickered to life, showing a Zalarian officer. His 4 eyes widened in surprise at the sight of humans. "This is Captain Lisa Rodriguez of the Earth Alliance vessel Defiant. You attacked our research outpost at Proxima Centauri, without provocation. We are here to respond in kind." The Zalarian regained his composure quickly. "Primitive creatures, you dare to challenge the might of the Zalarian Empire? Your deaths will serve as an example to others who defy us." Lisa smiled coldly. "We were hoping you'd say something like that. Tactical, implement Operation Thunderstrike." The screen went dark as Greg cut the transmission. "Targeting systems locked, Captain. Ready on your command. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta. Begin now." The human ships moved with surprising speed and coordination. Instead of attacking in a standard formation, they split up, each taking an unexpected approach vector. The Zalarians had 6 patrol ships guarding the outpost, and they moved to intercept, clearly expecting an easy victory. "They're taking the bait," Greg reported with satisfaction. "Their formation is exactly what we predicted." Lisa nodded. "Now, Mr. Matthews, show them our surprise." Greg pressed a series of commands on his console. From the cargo bay of the Defiant launched what appeared to be standard mining equipment, the same type used at the Proxima outpost. But these had been modified under Dr. Murphy's guidance. "Mining lasers powered and targeted," Greg announced. "Firing now." The mining equipment, designed to cut through dense asteroid material, sliced through the Zalarian shields as if they weren't there. Dr. Murphy had discovered that Zalarian shields were calibrated to stop military weapons but ignored what they classified as primitive industrial equipment. 2 Zalarian ships exploded immediately. A third spun out of control, venting atmosphere. "They're adjusting their shield frequencies," Greg warned. "We've got maybe 2 more minutes before they adapt." "That's all we need," Lisa replied. All ships commence Phase 2. The Valor and Liberty swooped in, firing conventional weapons at the disorganized Zalarian fleet. Meanwhile, the Horizon and Endeavor launched hundreds of small drones, each carrying a different frequency disruptor, designed to prevent the Zalarian shields from stabilizing. On the Defiant, Frank Collins activated the ship's special modification, a propulsion system that let it move in ways no normal starship could. The Defiant seemed to flicker as it jumped from position to position, confusing the Zalarian targeting systems. "Status of the enemy fleet?" Lisa asked, gripping the arms of her chair as the ship shuddered from a glancing hit. "4 ships destroyed, 1 disabled, 1 attempting to retreat," Greg replied, his voice tight with concentration. "Pursue the retreating vessel. I want them to deliver our message." The Defiant closed on the fleeing Zalarian ship. Instead of destroying it, Lisa ordered another communication channel opened. "This is Captain Rodriguez to Zalarian vessel. You started this war. We're just happy to show you how we finish one. In case you're wondering, we call this a good day for mayhem. There's plenty more where that came from." She signaled Greg to end the transmission. "Let them go," she ordered. "Make sure they have a clear path home." The damaged Zalarian ship limped away, the single survivor of what should have been an easy victory for the mighty Empire. Commander Fletcher looked concerned. "Captain, allowing them to escape means they'll report our capabilities and tactics." Lisa nodded. "That's exactly what I want. Let them know what they're facing. Let them know this was just our opening move." While the naval battle ended, a smaller operation was underway. Major Eric Daniels led a team of 12 special operatives onto the Zalarian outpost. They moved silently through the corridors, disabling security systems as they went. "Remember," Eric whispered to his team, "we need their command logs and any information about their fleet deployments. No unnecessary engagement." The team reached the main control room without being detected. While half the team secured the perimeter, the others downloaded everything they could from the Zalarian computers. "Major, you need to see this," said Lieutenant Alicia Ramirez, looking up from her data scanner. "These logs show the Zalarians have conquered dozens of species. They refer to them as servant races." Eric looked over her shoulder at the data. "Copy everything. Admiral Bennett needs to see this." The team completed their mission and returned to the Defiant just as the Zalarians began to organize a counterattack from the outpost. Back on the bridge, Lisa received Eric's initial report with grim satisfaction. "So they're not just bullies, they're slavers too. That changes things." "How so, Captain?" Commander Fletcher asked. "It means we're not just fighting for Earth anymore," Lisa replied. "We're fighting for every species they've subjugated." She turned to her communications. "Officer, send a message to Earth. Tell Admiral Bennett. Phase 1 complete. The Zalarians have been bloodied and we've acquired valuable intelligence. Most importantly, tell her we've confirmed that their rigid command structure makes them slow to adapt. By the time they developed countermeasures for our mining equipment, the battle was already lost." She looked around at her crew, pride evident in her expression. They expected primitives. They got humans. They'll never make that mistake again. News of the human victory spread quickly through the Zalarian Empire. High Commander Zrek faced the Imperial Council, his posture rigid with shame. "These humans are more resourceful than we anticipated," he admitted. "They used mining equipment to bypass our shields." The Counselor of War slammed his fist on the table. "Unacceptable. You assured us these primitives would submit or be easily crushed." "I underestimated them," Zrek said. "It will not happen again." "No, it will not," said the Emperor's voice, the highest authority present. "You are relieved of command. War Master Thalax will take your place." Thalax stepped forward, his armor gleaming with the symbols of countless victories. "I will crush these humans utterly. Their defiance threatens the image of our invincibility among the servant races. Already there are reports of unrest in the outer systems." The Emperor's voice nodded. "Then make an example of them. Commit whatever force is necessary." Back on Earth, Admiral Bennett reviewed Captain Rodriguez's report with Dr. Murphy and the senior military staff. "Their ships are faster and more powerful than ours," Lisa explained via holographic projection. "But they rely on rigid tactics and preset responses. When we did something unexpected, they couldn't adapt quickly." Dr. Murphy stepped forward. "That matches what I observed at first contact. Their society is extremely hierarchical. Lower ranks aren't permitted to make decisions, only to follow orders precisely." Admiral Bennett smiled slightly. Then we keep doing the unexpected. Dr. Murphy, how is your research progressing? Very well, Dr. Murphy replied. With the data Major Daniels recovered, my team has developed a virus that can infiltrate and disrupt their navigation systems. And my engineering team has created a method to mask our ships as spatial anomalies, added Chief Engineer Frank Collins. Their sensors won't recognize us as vessels until we're right on top of them. Admiral Bennett stood up. Excellent. But we need to be prepared for their response. The Zellarians won't take this defeat lightly. She was right. 2 months later, a Zellarian fleet 10 times the size of the previous one entered human space. It was led by War Master Thalax's flagship, a massive vessel called the Dominion. They're heading straight for Tau Ceti colony, reported Commander Fletcher. The colony was home to nearly 1 million humans. Captain Rodriguez's battle group had grown to 15 ships, but they were still vastly outnumbered. We can't stop them by force alone, she told Admiral Bennett during their emergency meeting. Then we don't fight fair, the Admiral replied. It's time for Operation Hornet's Nest. The plan was daring. While the bulk of Earth's fleet appeared to defend Tau Ceti directly, Admiral Bennett herself would lead a smaller force in a flanking maneuver, using Frank's masking technology to get close to the Zellarian flagship. Meanwhile, Dr. Murphy's virus would be delivered by specially designed probes that looked like debris. As the massive Zellarian fleet approached Tau Ceti, War Master Thalax stood proudly on his bridge. See how small their defensive fleet is, he told his officers. They send children to fight giants. The Earth ships formed a defensive line in front of the colony. Captain Rodriguez commanded the center of the line from the Defiant. Hold position, she ordered as the Zellarian fleet drew near. Wait for the signal. The first wave of Zellarian ships opened fire. The Earth vessels took hits, but their improved shields, designed based on the lessons from the first battle, held firm. Return fire, Pattern Alpha, Captain Rodriguez ordered. Make it look good. The Earth ships fired back, causing minimal damage but making the Zellarians focus entirely on the frontal assault. Meanwhile, Admiral Bennett's strike force approached. From below the plane of battle, invisible to Zellarian sensors thanks to Frank's technology. At the same time, the virus-carrying probes drifted toward the Zellarian fleet, looking like nothing more than battle debris. On the Dominion, War Master Thalax watched with satisfaction as his fleet pushed forward against the human defenders. Once we break their line, target the colony's environmental systems, he ordered. Let them watch their people suffocate. Suddenly, alarms blared across the Zellarian fleet. Navigation systems malfunctioning, reported an officer on the Dominion. Weapons targeting is compromised. What? Thalax roared. How is this possible? Before anyone could answer, Admiral Bennett's strike force decloaked directly behind the Dominion and opened fire. Their weapons targeted the specific weaknesses identified in the Zellarian design. All ships execute Pattern Omega, Captain Rodriguez commanded the main fleet. The Earth vessels suddenly broke formation, moving in seemingly random patterns that confused the Zellarian targeting computers. The massive Zellarian fleet, expecting to crush the humans easily, fell into chaos. Without functioning navigation systems, ships collided with each other. Without proper targeting, their weapons missed more often than they hit. War Master Thalax watched in horror as his perfect formation dissolved into confusion. This is impossible. They are primitives. Admiral Bennett opened a channel to the Dominion. This is Admiral Catherine Bennett of the Earth Alliance. Your ships are disabled and your formation is broken. Surrender now. Zellarians do not surrender to lesser beings. Thalax spat back. Then you leave us no choice, Catherine replied calmly. She signaled to her weapons officer. Target their engines and life support. Disable, don't destroy. The battle ended in less than an hour. 5 Zellarian ships were destroyed, mostly from colliding with each other. 30 more were disabled, including the Dominion. The rest retreated in disarray. Catherine ordered teams to board the disabled Zellarian vessels. I want prisoners for interrogation, especially officers. The information they gathered was invaluable. The captured Zellarian officers revealed that the rigid caste system extended throughout their society. Lower castes were beginning to question leadership as defeats mounted. Several subjugated species within the empire had also begun resistance, movements inspired by humanity's defiance. Most importantly, they learned that the Zilarian Empire wasn't as vast as they claimed. They had expanded through intimidation more than actual conquest, relying on their reputation for invincibility. Back on Earth, Admiral Bennett shared these findings with the United Earth Council. "The Zilarians have been exposed," she said. "Their greatest weapon was fear, and we've taken that away from them." A council member asked, "What do we do now? Press our advantage and attack their homeworld?" Catherine shook her head. "No. We're not conquerors. We defend ourselves and help others do the same. We've made contact with some of the resistance movements among the subjugated species. They've been fighting the Zilarians for generations without success, but now they have hope." She brought up a star map, showing the regions controlled by the Zilarian Empire. "We don't need to defeat them everywhere. We just need to keep breaking their myth of invincibility. Every victory we achieve inspires more resistance across their territory." Dr. Murphy, who had been invited to the council meeting, spoke up. "The Zilarians don't understand humans. They see our diversity as weakness, not strength. They can't comprehend how we function without their rigid hierarchy." "Exactly," Admiral Bennett agreed. "And that's why we'll win. Not because our ships are better or our weapons stronger, but because we adapt. We innovate. We work together not out of fear, but out of choice." She looked around at the council members. The Zilarians started this war thinking they were teaching primitives a lesson. Instead, they're learning one themselves. On the Zilarian homeworld, the news of War Master Thalax's defeat spread like wildfire. The Emperor himself called an emergency meeting of the High Council, something that had not happened in over 100 years. "War Master Thalax has failed," the Emperor said, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "He will be executed for his incompetence." The councillors murmured their approval. Failure was not tolerated in the Empire. "These humans have proven more troublesome than expected," the Emperor continued. "But they are still primitives compared to our civilization. We will crush them with overwhelming force." An older councillor named Viridian rose slowly to his feet. "Perhaps most exalted one, there is another way. The humans have shown remarkable adaptability. Each time we attack, they learn and become stronger. Meanwhile, reports of unrest among the servant races grow daily." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Are you suggesting we negotiate with these upstarts?" "I suggest we reassess our approach," Viridian replied carefully. "A temporary ceasefire would allow us to strengthen our position while giving the appearance of diplomacy." After much debate, the council agreed to send an envoy to negotiate with the humans. They chose Viridian himself for the task, believing his age and experience would help him outmaneuver the primitive humans. On Earth, Admiral Bennett received the news of the Zilarian peace envoy with cautious optimism. "They're asking for a ceasefire and negotiations," she told the United Earth Council. "But our intelligence suggests they're just playing for time. They've suffered 2 major defeats and need to regroup." "Should we refuse then?" asked a council member. "No," Catherine replied. "We'll meet them at the negotiating table, but from a position of strength." She turned to her aide. "Contact Ambassador Nicole Vasquez. Tell her she'll be leading our diplomatic team." Nicole Vasquez was Earth's most skilled diplomat. She had negotiated treaties with the sentient plants of Proxima Centauri and the methane breathers of Epsilon Eridani. She understood alien psychology better than anyone. Admiral Bennett and Captain Rodriguez would serve as her military advisors. The negotiations were set to take place on a neutral space station called Harmony, built by Earth specifically for diplomatic meetings. It orbited an uninhabited planet midway between Earth and Zilarian space. Councillor Viridian arrived with a team of Zilarian diplomats. They expected to find humans eager for peace at any price. Instead, they found Nicole Vasquez, calm and confident with terms of her own. "The United Earth Alliance proposes the following terms," Nicole began. "First, the Zilarian Empire will formally recognize human sovereignty over all current human-occupied systems. Second, A demilitarized zone will be established between our territories. Viridian nodded. These terms were expected and acceptable as a starting point. The ceasefire would give them time to build more ships and develop countermeasures against human tactics. Then Nicole continued. Third, the Empire will grant independence to all subjugated species within its borders. The Zalarian diplomats erupted in anger. Viridian raised his hand for silence. Ambassador Vasquez, that demand is completely unacceptable. The servant races are part of the Empire. Their status is not open for negotiation. Nicole smiled slightly. We thought you might say that, Admiral, if you would explain our position. Catherine stepped forward. While we've been talking, human ships have positioned themselves near key Zalarian worlds. We've also made contact with resistance movements throughout your empire. They're waiting for a signal from us to launch coordinated uprisings. She activated a holographic display showing the positions of Earth vessels deep in Zalarian space. That's impossible, one of the Zalarian diplomats protested. Our defense networks would have detected your ships. Captain Rodriguez spoke up. The same way you detected Admiral Bennett's strike force at Tau Ceti, or the virus that disabled your navigation systems. Your technology is impressive, but your thinking is rigid and predictable. Viridian looked shaken. You're bluffing. Even if you have some ships in our territory, the Empire has stood for millions of years. It cannot be brought down so easily. We don't need to bring it down, Nicole said calmly. The subjugated species will do that themselves, with our help. They've waited generations for this opportunity. She slid a data tablet across the table. These are our terms. You have 24 hours to consider them. The Zalarian diplomats conferred in private, sending urgent messages back to their homeworld. The Emperor was furious but also worried. Intelligence reports confirmed human ships had indeed penetrated their territory, using technology that made them invisible to Zalarian sensors. Worse, there were verified reports of coordinated resistance, activities on 12 different worlds. How had the humans accomplished so much in so little time? After 23 hours of internal debate, Councillor Viridian returned to the negotiating table. We will accept your terms with one modification, he said stiffly. The transition to independence for the former servant races must be gradual. Over a period of 5 years to prevent chaos. Nicole looked to Admiral Bennett, who nodded slightly. We can accept that modification, Nicole replied. Freedom is worth waiting for if it comes with stability. 1 month later, representatives from Earth, the Zalarian Empire, and 12 newly liberated species gathered on Harmony Station for the signing of the Treaty of Sol. It marked the end of the Zalarian Empire's expansionist era and the beginning of a new galactic community of equals. Dr. Murphy, now heading the newly established Center for Interspecies Understanding, watched the ceremony with Jack Winters at her side. Hard to believe it's been only 18 months since the attack on our outpost, she said quietly. Jack nodded. 18 months from first contact to reshaping the political structure of half the galaxy. Only humans could move that fast. Across the room, Captain Rodriguez was speaking with a young Zalarian diplomat who seemed fascinated by humans. There's something I don't understand, the Zalarian said. Throughout our conflict, your people kept referring to your victories as good days for mayhem. What does this mean? Lisa smiled. It means that what looks like chaos to you is opportunity to us. Humanity thrives when everything is on the line. It's just who we are. The Zalarian considered this. My teachers always said your species was too young to have achieved space travel, that you must have stolen the technology or been given it by another race. But that's not true, is it? No, Lisa replied. We built everything ourselves. Usually when someone told us it was impossible, they watched as ships from a dozen different species docked at Harmony Station, representatives arriving for the new Galactic Council that would replace the Empire's rule. They started a war thinking they knew what they were doing, Lisa said, thoughtfully. But they had no idea who they were dealing with. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or technology. It's our ability to turn crisis into advancement. Every time. Admiral Bennett joined them, looking satisfied as she watched the proceedings. Not bad for primitives, wouldn't you say? In the years that followed, the former servant races formed their own governments, many modeling themselves after Earth's democratic systems. The Zilarians, forced to adapt to a galaxy where they were no longer supreme, gradually became less rigid in their thinking, and humanity continued to explore the stars, always ready for whatever challenges might come next. Because if there was one thing the Zilarians had taught the galaxy, it was this: never start a war with humans unless you're prepared for a good day of mayhem.